Good morning and welcome to the Saturday special segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Nowadays, we are deluded with information and misinformation. Quite possible, the misinformation can be disinformation as well. Now, while information is useful, misinformation is something which is capable of destroying your trust, either in the authority or in any discipline or in any food product. And disinformation is the worst thing that can happen. That is giving skewed picture, which can be extremely harmful at times, both from the political point of view as well as from the social point of view. It was Hitler, Minister of Propaganda Goebbels, who came up with the dictum, repeat a lie thousand times that it becomes the truth. But now, with this explosion of information, which we call information age, has not made that only outdated, but old-fashioned. You don't have to repeat it. Post something, write something, publish it on media, on print media, or broadcast it, televise it, and you can be sure that some people would be taken in. I've seen even stars being taken as the reality. And when Trump came up with this word fake news, it just caught on. And with the result that the trust that we used to have in the news agencies was eroded. BBC was at one time considered to be paragon of honesty and veracity. And in the Second World War and the First World War, even the Germans used to listen to BBC to know the reality, whether they are winning or losing. But not any longer. It is as partisan as any media is. I was talking to an MP a few days back of my area, John Brasser. And I agree with him when he said that the CBC and CTV both are basically not Canadian news agencies. They are basically Liberal Party news agencies. There can be nothing farther from the truth, and it's unfortunate. CNN is not purveying the national news, it's only purveying anti-Trump news, right or wrong. And many times they have said later on that they are untrue. You know, we have to encourage ourselves for the sake of sanity to examine whether the news is fake or a real news. More than 2 million people have shared, commented on, and reacted to a story that former President Obama signed an executive order banning school children from taking the Pledge of Allegiance, which was wrong. It was completely untrue. And do you know, it was posted on a site, abcnews.com.co. It's a fake news to look like ABC News, but a dubious distinction of being the most widely shared piece of fake news last year. Letter bombs which are sent to the former presidents and various democratic leaders is a shameful activity in any political atmosphere. Political violence has no role. But here even, there have been disputes when CNN announced it, that quite possible that Democrats might have sent it to themselves to get the sympathy vote. You can't believe it. The fake news, as a matter of fact, drips poison on our daily web diet. And we wet up, when we realize it, we are infected. But we don't realize it really. So we have to understand that fake news as they are are detrimental to the national health of any country. Now, who indulges in fake news? One is the parties and news agencies. They will either concoct news or give the news a different slant. Now, the same thing can be, everything can be presented rightly or wrongly. It's a presentation which matters. So, when the parties and news agencies, which have lost their objectivity, dish out news, they want to change the mindsets of the people. Then the politicians, they give the fake news. Some fake news hoaxes are there. There are no social media. There's no truth in that. For example, I read somewhere that you can charge an iPhone by popping it in the microwave. But then you can understand it's nothing more than a big hoax. The hoax is about the impending ending of the world, have been there since times immemorial. And the biggest victim of the fake news is politics. Politics is susceptible to persistent, well-coordinated, well-discussed campaigns which spread the fake news. The deliberate spreading of the fake news played a major role in Brexit elections in England. Similarly, the animosity between the presidential candidates in France, Le Pen and Macron, was evident from the variety of the fake news being presented, each diametrically opposed to the other. And many politicians have complained being victims of the fake news. For example, in Spain, BBC showed pictures of the police violence against Catalan freedom fighters, and which was an absolute fake news. When CNN showed the picture of the refugees and that young boy whose dead body was on the Mediterranean, a wave of sympathy spread over the world. And maybe Prime Minister Harper was defeated because it did not show sympathy for that man. But it was later on found to be a fake news. That picture had been used somewhere else and it was photoshopped to show. In another news, CNN showed the same man and the child was shown 4 times at different places. It was one news, but the caption would differ. There is a different refugee and the refugee girl. Now, some social media like Facebook and Twitter are grappling how to police with the content of their sites. And the governments around the world are wrestling with it. But the demon still lives on, the demon of the fake news. So the point is how to identify fake news from the real news. There is no such authority which will scrutinize each and every news, especially now with the social media. And people are left wondering, is it right or wrong? Many times I post news and people ask me, we didn't read it anywhere else. But they didn't read it because of one reason, that it was not still released. Secondly, it was of not that interest to create the partisan attitudes. So, if we want to live in these insane words in a sane manner, it is imperative that we recognize what a real news is and what a fake news is. We are able to differentiate between them. And it's not a very difficult task. You just need a bit of hard work. And you can always identify the fake, whether it's promulgated from the Congress Hall or from the Time Warner building or from BBC or from the Doordarshan or whatever. Now, how to spot the fake news? First, consider the source. Most important, the source of the news. Click away from the story to investigate the site, its mission, and its contact information. You would find many times that there will be no contact information. They'll put a questionnaire over there. And the purpose is to hide the reality. And any news which comes from a hidden source is a fake news. Then look at the mission. Many times they are mentioned. The mission is to propagate so and so or ideology. Then check the author who is authoring the news. Is the news reliable? And is a person reliable? What has been the person's track record? They are journalists and the writers who are actually the paid henchmen, or I call them the shoe-licking lackeys of the political parties and the political persons. Avoid them as you would avoid a plague. So, secondly, many times the authors may be imaginary, some pseudonym, some pen names. And if a story is under pseudonym, believe it, it's fake, 9 out of 10. Then check the date. I have seen some news being posted on the Facebook, and when I saw, well, it was 2 years old. So reposting the old stories does not mean that they're relevant to the current events. So if from that point of view, they are aged, they are outdated, and they become fake news. That's the third way. Fourth is, very important, check your own bias. Consider if your own belief could affect your judgment after reading that news. If your belief could affect your judgment, and that news is either reinforcing that belief or contradicting that belief, wait. Try to maintain an objectivity, an impartiality in your mind. It's okay to believe a story, but it's better to know that you're believing a fake story. And then the next step should be read beyond. Many times, many people come to me and start talking to me, some very good friends. What they have done is they have read the headline and they think they know the whole story. No. Headlines can be very deceptive. Go beyond the headlines. They can be outrageous. The purpose of the headline is to attract you, not to give you information. So you have to read the whole story to understand whether the headline should be believed or not. And you would find many times that the headline, while it's pertinent to one part of the story, may not be the whole story. It's a part of the story, may not be the whole story. And that will help you identify fake from the false. Then the sporting basis, the good news, who reported it, who is a spokesperson, is a spokesperson real or not, and if somebody links, sometimes links would be there. So click on the links, check up, determine if the information given actually supports a story. And I've seen people, the journalists of repute, using information truncated, cut off. I mean, what they do is they quote something but leave the context out. And people believe that to be truth. So you have to see the quotes, you have to see the links in the proper perspective and in their entirety. Just the quotes cutting out of that, out of the context, can be a part of major fake news campaign. And then many times what you read might be just be a style, might be a piece of humor. So is it a joke? Try to check it. For example, I have just written a piece which I will be putting up tomorrow. And I have written there so that people are not mistaken in a lighter vein. But you have to see if the story is very outlandish, beyond the dreams of possibility and probability, then it might be not be a real story. So again recite the site, again recite the author to be sure. And the tone and the tang of the story will tell you whether it's a fake or the reality. And then lastly, if you don't have the knowledge, don't believe it. Ask the experts. Ask a librarian. Consult a fact-checking site. There are many sites on web which check the facts. So you can put it over there, what we call the fact checking site, fact finder, and they'll tell you that this is a hoax or a reality, fake or false, believable or unbelievable, trustworthy or untrustworthy. And if you follow these 8 methods, which I have just enunciated, you'll be able to sift the grain from the chaff, and then you will not be deluded, you will not be misinformed, you will not be misled, and the disinformation would not have met its ends. And that is why your capability to discriminate from the false from the reality would emerge, and then you would be able to say, well, this is a fake news, to hell with it, I'm not interested. You will not be psychologically, mentally manipulated by these so-called journalists who are nothing but paid agents to mislead you. Beware of the fake news, identify them, and then throw them in the garbage. Thank you.